Today, men, women, and children, we're talking about Ultimate Spider-Man. Published in 2005 by Activision. Yes, that Activision. And made by and developed by Treyarch. Yeah, the Treyarch behind Black Ops. Black Ops Treyarch made one of the best Spider-Man games ever made. Only to go on years later during the 360 generation and knock the world on its ass with one of the greatest Call of Duties ever made, being Black Ops. My favorite Call of Duty campaign of all time. The numbers, Mason. The numbers. Oh, just thinking about that gets me bricked up in a very uncomfortable way. But let's get back to web shooting of a different variety. One of the big issues I had with this game when I started looking into critical reviews of games and Metacritic scores due to Twitter and all that garbage, I found out this game sits at like a 77, which is so insulting considering this is, in my opinion, my favorite Spider-Man game of all time in terms of combat and making you feel like Spider-Man from the comics. There is yet to be a Spider-Man game that makes you feel like you're in a comic book other than this one. The art style is fantastic. I mean, look at the arrow you're following around. It looks like it was pulled straight out of the pages of Ultimate Spider-Man. The fact that when you run into enemies, they have these exclamation marks above their head that look just like an enemy when they see you in the comic book. That is cool to me. The spider webs over them. And that's very old school game styling, to have markers and stuff over them and to have these floating things that honestly are kind of goofy and makes no sense. But at the same time, that honestly, to me, makes it more immersive for the fact that this game's trying to be like the comics, to make you feel like you're in a comic, because comics are that way. They're exaggerated for effect. And this game embodies that on every level. You truly feel like the comic book badass Spider-Man. Even the combat system in this game is fluid and quick-paced, and you never feel like you're stuck in an encounter too long. One of my biggest problems with Insomniac's games, though I have not played Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales, I felt like I was always constantly hitting the same enemy for an extended period of time, and you never really get stuck in that in this game. You quickly disperse the enemies, and that's not to say that I think that I want the Insomniac Spider-Mans to be easier or stuff. It's not about the difficulty, because there is times in this game where you truly get your butt whipped. But you know that it's your fault, that you weren't, it's not because you got stuck on an enemy for a really annoying amount of time and you just want to move on, but you just keep hitting the same guy 4 or 5 times. This game, you hit him a couple times, you bounce to the next guy, hit him a couple times, and you're just done. Quick, go to the next area. Boom, boom, bang, and you feel like Spider-Man. It truly emphasizes the power Spider-Man has without feeling like it's too easy of a game. And this game is a love letter. Like I said, look at the transitions between the cutscenes and the gameplay. Just the fact that, because loading screens were a thing of the time, but the fact that they used comic books, stacks of comic books to do it. And another thing I really liked about this game is the character models. Though Peter's wasn't my favorite character model, I think his face was a little goofy. Yet his face was kind of goofy looking in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. The Ultimate Spider-Man series wasn't always my favorite, but look at Mary Jane. You can go back and see, or right here, you can just see how batty thick she is and how juicy she is. That is awesome. She has those fuck me eyes like crazy. And I know what you're thinking, that's pretty misogynistic. I don't care. This is a fantasy game. This is not a fantasy game. This is a comic book game. And comic books of the glory age of Marvel, which was, in my opinion, the 2000s or the 90s and 2000s for Marvel, had that style, had that exaggerated, no girl really looks this way, but doesn't matter because this is fantasy, you know what I mean? And this game embodies that. I mean, just look at right now, I'm playing as Venom, and this is something you constantly do in this game. You bounce between Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and playing as Venom. And the moments playing as Venom feel like you're living that power fantasy as Venom. You are truly dispersing enemies at an insane rate. You're creating carnage and destruction and using cars to just blow people up. You can kill random citizens who are just trying to flee. That is one of the cool things about this game, is even though this game is old and there's pop-in when you go to different sections because games couldn't load that fast, when you land near civilians as Venom or as Spider-Man, they notice you, they run away. And when you're as Venom, the fact that you absorb people into you for health and you truly destroy, like kill people, like right around here you see all these civilians that I'm just murdering. And that's something in the new Spider-Man games that I don't think they would ever do. Sometimes the people don't even notice you. And the fact that, like, this game has the mechanics where you kill people by absorbing them is such, like, that's how Venom does it in the comics. And that, to me, is important. This game understood the importance of playing a game and feeling like the character you're supposed to portray. And I don't think that a lot of games have done that when it comes to Spider-Man games, especially when it comes to Insomniacs. I never really felt like I was playing as Spider-Man. I felt like I was playing as Batman with Spider-Man's suit on. And yeah, Batman Arkham series has good combat for Batman, but it is not good for Spider-Man. And I don't know how Venom plays, or how I heard that you don't get to play Venom very long in the new Spider-Man game. That was another disappointing thing, because in my mind, I wanted Spider-Man 2 to be a remake of this. And so when I saw a lot of gameplay and saw the story notes, I was going to be disappointed, because there is such a part of me that just wants to see an HD remake of this game. Because even though I am gushing over this game, even though I think that the combat's fantastic, the boss fights are amazing, one of the things with Venom that I did not get footage for this video is one of the early boss fights you face is you fight Wolverine as Venom. But one thing that this game does have a problem with is its side content. It's like, oh, go through the the floating circles and hit the bubbles and get it done in a certain amount of time, like you're racing, and then jump point A to point B attacking people. It's not too in-depth of side content, which, yes, is a product of the time, but again, if this game got remade, you could make more meaningful side content, and this game would go to the much acclaimed 10 out of 10 in my mind. If there is a game that could use this art style, this combat that was as fun as this, even though it being simplistic, it is still an insanely fun combat system. You take this, add more meaningful side content, I don't think there would be any of Insomniac's games could hold a candle to this. I mean, there are true moments in this game where you feel the pressure of what's going on, and I don't want to give away any spoiler or story points in this game or spoilers, because that's just not something I want to do because of how much I love this game. But for the most part, this game has like all the lore and stuff you want in a superhero game. There's moments with different characters that you don't expect to see in a Spider-Man game, because we've been trained to not look for these characters in the modern world, you know? Yeah, I mean, there is some reoccurring ones, like, I think her name is Silver Sable. I've always forget her name, but that baddie, thick, military chick that's always, like, she's, like, on Spider-Man's side, but not on Spider-Man's side. But she's in this game, and yeah, she's in the modern Spider-Man games too, but not as baddie thick. She is baddie thick in this game. You'll see her eventually in my video, and I'm sure that you won't be able to unzip your pants fast enough, you goddamn creeps. I can hold myself together, but I know you guys are watching this video because you're like, I'm gonna screenshot on Silver Sable. I'm gonna buy this game just so I can see how baddie thick these people are, because I want to juice their titties. Calm down, guys. That's gross. I do not support that type of behavior. What I do support is sucking people in like you are a cheap prostitute and using them for health like Venom does. That I do support, and that is something this game does. And throwing cars, creating carnage. That is what this game does. Every moment is carnage in this game. Even as Spider-Man, even though you don't destroy things as Spider-Man, you are a badass. You are a true thing to be feared. And when you're fighting people, like, look at this boss fight. One of my favorite things about this boss fight and playing as Spider-Man right here is you truly feel like you are Spider-Man fighting Venom. You feel like you have the power to stand toe-to-toe with him, because this game doesn't hold your hand in the fact that it's like, okay, hit button prompt A, B, or X triangle. You know what I mean? It's just play or figure out the boss. Where do you need to avoid him? When is he going to throw these attacks? And yes, it's simplistic for the time, because 2005 wasn't known for adding in tons of boss moves. This isn't a FromSoft game, but it is enough to where you know what to telegraph away from, what to avoid, and at any moment you can beat this boss fight. It can take as long as you want, or if you're really aggressive and really good at dodging, you can beat this boss fight in no time, because it's not focused on how much dialogue can they fit into a boss fight, or how many mini cutscenes can they put in. It is fight the boss, have fun, and then when you're done, have a cutscene. That is the way it should be. And I have a problem with Insomniac, because it seems like halfway through the fight, you don't even know how much health you've dropped. And I know the modern Spider-Man 2 has added in a health bar, which, like I said when I saw that they first did that, was a huge problem I had with the first two Insomniac games, is you don't know what type of damage you're doing, and it's because you're really not doing damage. You're just waiting for your QTE moment to progress the story, which there are some boss fights in this game like that. One in particular is the Rhino boss fight, where you have to wait until he's done charging to jump on his back, which honestly is such a played out thing, and it's always why I hate fighting Rhino in Spider-Man games, because it's always wait till you can jump on his back, which is really annoying. But in most boss fights, talking about this one and the Wolverine one, it is about learning your enemy, learning when to avoid him, learning what moves are devastating to you, and evolving around them and excelling past them. And it's something that FromSoft always understood with their boss fights, about being fair and tough, and if you can learn the enemy, you can accomplish the goal. And that is something that this Spider-Man game does with its boss fights, and they're so much damn fun. And that's something about the combat system that really is good about this game, is because it evolves the more you do it. Yes, it might be simple, but the more time you put into it, the more you start to master it, the better you feel. And that's something that matters to me more than the new Spider-Man games, where it's literally like, watch the color above your head and dodge and hit, dodge and hit, dodge and hit. Stay on the same 3 enemies for 37 minutes. I don't enjoy that. But when I'm playing this game, I feel like I am dispersing and being a badass. And the cutscenes are cool and flashy and make me feel like I'm watching the comic books I grew up reading. I see super baddie thick Sable right here. She is so hot, and I feel like the first time I'm reading a comic book and seeing the way these artists draw some of these super hot women, you're like, wow, that's cool. This is exactly what I wanted. This is what I've been reading for years. And as a kid, that's what it felt. But like I said, most boss fights are great, but like, you look at this boss fight where I'm fighting Rhino. This is one of the few that's a choreographed dodge thing, jump on back. But the fact that the majority of boss fights aren't like this, and they're more just you fight the enemy on your terms, is way better. And even to an extent, this one's a lot more on your terms, because you if you are really good with watching when he hits those low moments, you can beat this boss fight really quick. Or if you're really bad about finding those moments and you can't find the opening to get on his back, you can lose really quick. That is still something that is better than the modern ones, where it's just wait till they do one thing, hit the button, get a cutscene, hit the button, get a cutscene. This game, you have to play. This game does not play you. And I have such a hard time explaining that to people, and that's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is when I talk about the modern Spider-Man and I have these gripes, and people are like, well, maybe Spider-Man games just aren't for you. And it's like, no, there are Spider-Man games for me. Spider-Man games that give me kind of the freedom to do this. And I know that there's games after this one that even give you more freedom when it comes to like Web of Shadows and Shattered Dimensions, that give you that cool freedom to play the game and have the combat you want in the you feel like a superhero. I like that. I like feeling like a superhero. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This was kind of just a retrospective rant on the original Ultimate Spider-Man game. But have you played this game? What do you think of it? What's your thought on the modern Spider-Man games? I love getting comments, whether you disagree with me or hate me or whatever. I like seeing these comments. But dislike the video. I love you guys to death. Catch you later.